Now hopefully know a little bit about variables, and as we covered in the last video, a variable can be really any symbol, although we typically use letters because we're used to writing and typing letters, but it can be anything from an X to a Y, a Z, an A, a B, and so oftentimes we'll start using Greek letters like theta, but you can really use any symbol to say, hey, this is going to vary. It can take on multiple values. But out of all of these, the one that's most typically used in algebra, or really in all of mathematics, is the variable x, although all of these are used to some degree. But given that x is used so heavily, it does introduce a slight problem. And that problem is it looks a lot like the multiplication symbol, or the one that we use in arithmetic. So in arithmetic, if I want to write 2 times 3, I literally write 2 times 3. But now that we're starting to use variables, and if I want to write 2 times x, well, if I use this as the multiplication symbol, it would be 2 times x, and the times symbol and the x look awfully similar. And if I'm not really careful with my penmanship, it can get very confusing. Is this 2xx? Is this 2 times something? What exactly is going on here? And because this is confusing, this right over here is extremely confusing and it can be misinterpreted, we tend to not use this multiplication symbol when we are doing algebra. Instead of that, to represent multiplication, we have several options. Instead of writing 2 times x this way, we could write 2 dot x. And this dot, I want to be very clear. This is not a decimal. This is written a little bit higher, and we write this so we don't get confusion between this and one of these variables right here. But this really can be interpreted as 2 times x. So for example, if someone says 2.x, what is 2.x when x is equal to 3? Well, this would be the same thing as 2 times 3 when x is equal to 3. Another way that you could write it is you could write 2, and then you could write the x in parentheses right next to it. This is also interpreted as 2 times x. Once again, so if in this situation x were 7, this would be 2 times 7, or 14. And then the most traditional way of doing it is to just write the x right after the 2. And sometimes this will be read as 2x. But this literally does mean 2 times x. And you might say, well, how come we didn't always do that? Well, it would be literally confusing if we did it over here. If we just wrote, instead of writing 2 times 3, we just wrote 2, 3, well, that looks like 23. This doesn't look like 2 times 3, and that's why we never did it. But here, since we're using a letter now, it's clear that this isn't part of that number. This isn't 20-something. This is 2 times this variable x. So all of these are really the same expression. 2 times x, 2 times x, and 2 times x. And so with that out of the way, let's try a few worked examples, a few practice problems, and this will hopefully prepare you for the next exercise where you get a lot of chance to practice this. So if I were to say, what is 10 minus 3y, and what does this equal when y is equal to 2? Well, every time you see the y, you'd want that 2 there. So this is when y is equal to 2. Let's set that y equal to 2. This is the same thing. This is the same thing as 10 minus 3 times 2. You do the multiplication first. Multiplication takes precedence in order of operations. So 3 times 2 is 6. 10 minus 6. 10 minus 6 is equal to 4. Let's do another one. Let's say that we had, I don't know, 7x minus 4. And let me do that in the same green color. 7x minus 4. And we want to evaluate that when x is equal to 3. Where when we see the x, we want to put a 3 there. So this is the same thing as 7 times 3. 7, and I'll actually use this notation because I can use that with numbers. 7 times 3 minus 4. And once again, multiplication takes precedence by order of operations over addition or subtraction. So we want to do the multiplying first. 7 times 3 is 21. 21 minus 4 is equal to 17. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of background, and really encourage you to try the next exercise. It'll give you a lot of practice on being able to evaluate expressions like this.
Assalamu alaikum. Hammalarning hozirgi vaqti xayrli bo'lsin. Bugünkü ders why aren't we using the multiplication sign? Nimixka köpeytiş belgisini işletmemiz dedi. Bunu hem de bana kısaca tushuntirib o'tsam, masalan, algebrada nimixka köpeytiş belgisini işletmemiz. Masalan, eng başida Salman ham dedi, algebrada x, y, z, a, b, theta mushularning hammasini ishlatamiz masalan noma'lumni o'rnida. Ammo x eng tipik ishlatadiganimiz, eng ko'p ishlatadiganimiz deydi. Ammo lekin x qarasanglar bir xil yozilishi ko'paytirish belgisi o'xshaydi. Masalan 2 ga yozsam 2 ko'paytiraman 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 2 ko'paytiraman 2 desam, ko'paytiraman sal xato chiqib qoldimi? Come on. Ko'paytiraman 2. Mana 2 ko'paytiraman 2 deb yozsam, mana qarasanglar bu x bilan ko'paytirish bir xil bir-birisiga o'xshaydi. Shunda shu sababdan ko'paytirish belgisini ishlatmaymiz deydi. Buning o'rniga masalan 2 andaylik bir o'tirg'i yozilgan bir chekit bor. Manda pastda yozilgan chekit emas, bu bo'mga qarab boqay. Simbol o'tirg'i yozilgan chekit qani makab qilamki. Mabaq Tomke. Mana 2 ko'paytiraman 2. Manda yozamiz va yoki 2 anda tirnoqqa chep 2 va yoki tirnoqni yozmay 2x deb yozamiz dedi. Bunda necha xil usuli bor? Ammo bu x degani x o'rniga masalan 3 kelib qolsa, 2 ko'paytiraman 3. Masalan 2x. Agar x agar x 3 ga x deb bunda yozaveray. Agar x 3 ga teng bo'lsa, x deganimiz 2 ko'paytiraman qani ko'paytirish 3 ga teng, ya'ni 6 ga teng deydi. Mayad x belgisi yozilmagan bilan mayad yoziladi. Buni hargizmi 2 bilan 3 ning yig'indisi 23 ga teng emas. 23 deb qolmanglar deydi. Keyin menda boshqa misollarni elib ko'rsatdi.
We now see over here is you could write as 2x. This to practice this. Same thing. This is head.
Mesela yerdelik 10 alaman 3y. Agar 10 alaman 3y bo'lsa, agar y teng 2 bo'lsa, shunda 10 alaman 3 ko'paytirilgan 2 teng 10 alaman 6 teng 4 dedi. Shuningdek, ko'paytirish belgisini yozilmagan bilan algebrada amma o'sha yerda endi ko'paytirish belgisi bilan ishlaganda endi ko'paytirib ishlaysilar dedi. Endi men 7x alaman 4 nimi 7 ni x ni o'rniga 3 ni qo'ysak 21, 21 4 narsa 17. Javobi 17. Hargiz men u x ni o'rniga 3 ni qo'yib 73 deb qolmanglar dedi. Yani asosiy mazmun shu bugungi dars osonka. Chiqib asta-asta tez chiqmadi, xudoyim bo'lsa. Xayr.